Good morning. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm Meg Cohen. It's my privilege to serve as the worship associate today. On behalf of my fellow members and ministers of our congregation, it's my pleasure to welcome you today and to the Unitarian University, slow down. Okay. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we believe Spirit of Life, called by many names, is known to each of us uniquely. As a people of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, our task is to encourage one another in our individual transformation so that we might help what is good in this world grow and thrive. If you are a newcomer or are visiting with us today, know that we are glad you are here. If you'd like more information about Unitarian Universalism and this congregation, we invite you to complete one of the visitor information cards, which are out at the welcome desk. We also have in the rear of the worship room hearing assists for anyone who needs them. The devices will make your experience of this service more comfortable. As a community, we welcome you to share and appreciate our artistic vision in the congregation. Each year, the Art Committee has the honor of presenting you to all artists, poets, sculptors, photographers, and other creative people of UUCSR. This year, our show is currently in the art gallery and will extend through Homecoming Picnic, so take a look at it. You'll be glad you did. Homecoming Sunday on the 15th of September. Do join us. The service is at 11 a.m. and our UUCSR famous Homecoming Picnic welcomes the end of summer and the beginning of a new congregational year. Very exciting. As we move toward the end of summer, Reverend Natalie Fenimore, our lead minister, invites you to set aside some time for a common read. The book is Hallelujah Anyway, Discovering Mercy by Anne Lamont. Lamont writes that as we struggle to navigate an increasingly complex world and understand our place in it, mercy points the way forward. She explains the importance of mercy in our lives and the value of sharing it with others and ourselves. We will discuss the book together today after this worship at 12:30 in the art gallery. All are welcome following the worship service. Service today we'll join people. We're having lunch today. We don't have it in the summer, so that's why I'm making it's a special announcement. It's not even in the script here, so we're having lunch today. You will see that when you go out, and you'll see it. At Shelter Rock, we aspire to be a loving religious community where we can grow spiritually and build a more just and joyful world. We welcome you to join us in this journey. Thank you.
Don't miss the return of lunch. That is indeed a very important thing that is happening this Sunday. So bring your appetites and your desire for connection and for conversation too. If you do not know me, I am Reverend Israel Buffardi. I serve as the Associate Minister for Member and Community Engagement here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Shelter Rock. I serve with my other associate minister, the Reverend David Carl Olson, under the leadership of our lead minister, the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore. And it is so good to be here with you this morning and to be back with you here at Shelter Rock. I wanted to just bring one other happening to your attention so that we all know about it. And that is, I want to invite you, those of you who wish to attend the Interfaith 9/11 Memorial Service that's happening on Wednesday, September 11th at 8 p.m. And it's in Mary Jane Davies Park on Plandome Road in Manhasset. And that is sponsored by the Manhasset Clergy Association. So if you are looking for a way to remember that day and remember all the lives affected and that are still affected by it, we invite you to join in that memorial. And so this morning, as we begin our service, before we light our chalice, we are going to take a moment to kindle a light, to remain in our presence during the service today, to remember the day of September 11th, 2001. Remember all those people who lost their lives, all those people whose lives were forever changed. And you may notice that we have a new person here on the chancel with us this morning. I wanted to introduce to you Madison Colquette. Madison will be, did I say your name right? Yes, great. Madison will be our student minister for this current congregational year that we are entering into. So I hope that you will all take the time to get to know Madison, and you will get to know her ministry and to learn and grow with her as she continues into this process of becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister. And now let us light our chalice to enter into this time of worship.
Good morning, and thank you for that very warm welcome. As we kindle this flame, let it remind us of the fire within, the fire of an open heart. Like a glowing hearth that invites us to gather, this flame symbolizes the warmth of community that we offer one another. Here we welcome not just with words, but through the practice of radical hospitality, sharing stories, nourishing our spirits, feeding connection, and transforming strangers into friends. May we carry this warmth with us in all that we do. And I invite you in body or in spirit to join us in our opening hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Infants and saints. this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. May we now gather, know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us, as we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
You may be seated. Today, we are looking at for an extended time today, about the power of why we gather here, why we gather in this place, why we gather to worship, to turn our attention to what is important, but most importantly, why we gather with other people in this search for truth and meaning and love and justice, in this quest to put love at the center of all we do. So I ask you to ask yourselves, I ask us to ask ourselves today, what is the power of community? What is the fundamental power of coming together? And why does it get you out of bed in the morning to come here, when you could find meaning and purpose in other ways, perhaps? But you chose to come here and be in a room with other people, to enter into the transformative power of community. And what do we need to do for ourselves and together to be able to make space in this community to welcome more people in? Our service today is about hospitality, about radical hospitality. And if that phrase sounds a bit ambiguous and confusing, we will unpack it a little bit more in a little bit. But first, I want to invite you all now, as we are in this time together, as we enter fully, as we delve fully into this time that we call worship, this intentional time, to do something simple. I invite you to settle into your seats, to know that you are here for a reason, to do something important. So won't you just take a breath right now with me? And to put a spirit of intentionality into your time here today. A spirit of intentionality, of mindfulness of why we are here. Eddie Wadsworth said that hospitality is not about inviting people into our perfect homes, but rather it is about inviting them into our imperfect hearts, our imperfect hearts. So to welcome others, to practice radical hospitality, it's not just about opening our doors and letting people in. It's about knowing your own heart, about paying attention to what is in your own heart, whether it feels full or whole or broken or somewhere in between, and about inviting people in, about creating space in your heart for someone else and their experience, and knowing, wondering, anticipating with joy what you might discover and create together. So know this today. Let our actions as a community show this. That we will invite each other in. And it doesn't matter where we've been, for our arms, our hearts are open wide, and there's nothing left to hide. So will you feel that now as we listen to this song sung today by Brian Jeffers?
Searching, wandering and hurting, ashamed of the shape I'm in, afraid you'll see who I really am. But you invite me in, doesn't matter where I've been, your arms are open. There's nothing left to hide. How can this be a love so unfailing? Reached down, lifted me from ashes to beauty. And you invite me in, doesn't matter where I've been, your arms are open wide, there's nothing left to hide. Oh, you invite me in, doesn't matter where I've been, your arms are open wide, there's nothing left to hide. Oh, you invite me in, doesn't matter who I've been, your arms are open wide, there's nothing left to hide. Your arms are open wide.
We remind ourselves of our deepest values and our collective commitment to centering love in all we do by reciting our words of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament. The service is our prayer. Dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need. This we do affirm and covenant with each other.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of faith and hope arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue.
Each Sunday, we take a special collection to extend our vision of beloved community by supporting work in the world which addresses human need. During the month of September, our collection goes to support the work of climate justice through Green Faith. Green Faith brings us together, people of all faiths and spiritualities, to work for climate justice. We believe that all life is sacred and interconnected. We are a grassroots people of faith acting out of love for people and the planet, and to stop new fossil fuel projects, and to call for universal access to clean energy and green jobs that lift our communities to a better future. Below are the ways to give. It says you can hold your phone to the QR code that appears in view. I don't know how you would do that. You'd have to climb up there. I'm sorry. Anyway, tap the notification and open your donation. Sorry. Or you can PayPal. PayPal.com to send money to donate. Pay by check by dropping in the collection box, the main lobby, or by mailing it to UUCSR. I'm sorry, I'm going to go off. UUCSR Finance Office. Please enter September offering in the memo line. Drop cash into the donation box. You may also go to the giving page on uucsr.org to set up a one-time recurring payment.
And know that when you give, you are giving to support your most deepest held values and our values at work in our world. And so I invite you now to take a moment to turn inward, to turn into your heart, the place that calls to you, that teaches us what our most deepest held values are. The place in you that reminds you who you are and what is true and what we care about most in this world. And I ask you a simple question this morning. How is it with your heart? What is on your heart? Is it full and warm? Does it feel whole and glad? Is it swelling with joy? Does it feel bruised or broken or cold? Is it confused and not quite sure? Is it warm and ready to open itself up, to invite this experience of life in, to invite the world in, to invite others in, to embrace the possibility of connection with someone else who you love or who you do not yet even know? Whoever you are and whatever is on your heart this morning, whatever needs, whether it be one of the things I mentioned or something that is in between, or something that cannot be put into words, know that you are in just the right place this morning. For you have arrived in a space with others who carry the most deepest concerns of their hearts too. Each of you, individual, unique people who carry a lifetime of heartache and joy and experience and hold it all here. May you find someone to share your heart with today. May you find compassion and love, understanding, curiosity, outstretched hands, a seat at the table. I ask you what is on your heart, because to me that is a practice of true mindfulness. To look at your own heart and to notice what is in it. Not to immediately jump to correct it or change it, but to notice it. And there's a power in noticing, of being aware, of cultivating an appreciation for the way that things are, even when we know that there might be something that we like to see changed. Because the noticing within yourself cultivates compassion for yourself that gives you the strength you need to offer it to others and to the world. May you carry this spirit of intentionality with you. And remember, as Carl Jung said, as far as we can discern, the sole purpose of life is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being. So let us help each other to kindle these lights of meaning in the confusion and the darkness of mere being. And let us create something warmer and more bright and more beautiful.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know one day it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when they feed on the souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched pavement, keep on moving though the waters stay raging. And in this maze you can lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it phase you away. No way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. One day this all will change, treat people the same, stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like, oh. I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play. Oh.
One of the reasons I didn't want you to forget about lunch today is because I want you all to go to lunch today. Not just because I want you to be well fed, but the Italian grandmother in me does want you all to be well fed. You must be well fed. But I want you to go to lunch because I want you to practice something today together. I want you to practice. I invite you to practice. I hope you will practice what it means to welcome each other in, whether you know each other, whether you have been coming here for a long time, or this is your first or second or third time. To practice what it means to be with each other, with intention, with joy, with gladness, with curiosity. To see and know that you are here with other people, like I said, who have deep concerns on their hearts, joys and sorrows, and all that mixed up stuff in between. To know that you are here in community with people who care, who want to learn and grow and transform themselves in the world. And as our lead minister reminded us when we had a membership event, to know that you just might be meeting your next best friend. So go to lunch. Now, for anyone who is maybe a bit introverted, who finds social time to be a bit awkward, perhaps, isn't quite sure how it all works, isn't quite sure who to talk to or where to sit. I get that. I feel that way very often myself. And I consider myself an introvert, and I consider myself somewhat socially awkward sometimes. So I'm going to ask you to just kind of imagine with me for a moment an experience perhaps that some of you have had. I know I have had this experience. But think about this. Imagine that it is your first day somewhere. Maybe it's your first day of high school or middle school, or your first day on a new job, your first day coming into a religious community, perhaps, that you've never been to before. And you don't really know anybody, and you don't really know what to expect, and you don't really know what might happen, and you don't know who your first next best friend is going to be. And so you come into a room. I can remember this vividly. I have like a very clear picture in my mind. I can still smell that new Catholic school uniform smell when I think about this. And so I can picture myself in the lunchroom. I had just gotten my tray of food, which I'm sure was something unappetizing. But let's say today the food is appetizing, because it will be. And you got your tray, and you're walking through the lunchroom, and you're looking around, and there's conversations happening all around the room, and it feels like everyone is just kind of in their flow and found their niche and is laughing, and everyone else is totally fine, and you are just kind of like standing there with your tray. Where am I going to sit? Who are my people? What do I do? Where should I stand? Where should I go? And then you look over, and you see some people over there that are maybe just as weird as you are. And one of them catches your eye. They see that you are just as unique and interesting as they are, and they kind of make eye contact, and they nod, and they point to the empty seat next to them. And so you go and take a seat. And maybe you've just met your new best friend. Maybe you haven't. But suddenly you know, and you feel like, and you realize that you belong, and that there is a place for you. And you enter into conversation. And maybe it's just about, at first, about how strange this new experience is, and how interesting this place is. And you share your excitement about what you might discover together, and what is going to happen later that day, and who your favorite teachers are, or what your favorite subjects are, what things you're excited to do, what causes you care about, what fun things you will do together. And suddenly you find yourself immersed in conversation, and you feel like this is a great moment. For I'm talking about things that feel important, and I am making a connection with someone. I want to invite us today as we go to lunch, as you go to lunch, or as you go to the places you go to, even if you have somewhere else to go, that's okay, to remember what that feels like, that feeling of not knowing where to find your people. And to know that you just might be that person who makes eye contact with someone and gently gestures to the open seat next to you. To remember to leave an open seat next to you, perhaps. So the reason that I talked about mindfulness too today is because I also want to think about what it means to practice hospitality as a form of mindfulness. Like I said, to think about this time that we spend with each other when you go out of this room as an extension of what happens in this room, as an extension of building community, as not just lunch or coffee or the meeting that you're going to. To think of it, all of this, everything that happens here, as an extension of these big questions that we ask ourselves in this room. Because I think that something transformative can come from that. I think if we practice that it can lead to something. Something that is perhaps already here. We know there are many of these connections and conversations happening already. And we want to make space, leave more open seats for more people to experience that. Or perhaps for you to experience it in a different way than you're already experiencing it. If you already have your niche, your people, maybe you will experience what it's like to make a connection with someone new. As a minister, I like to think that what I say is valuable and important and it matters. And I put a lot of thought into what I say when I'm up here and when I preach to you. And I know that my colleagues do the same. But I also know that when we look at surveys of why people come here, sermons aren't necessarily the first thing that people tick off on their list all the time, although they are sometimes. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's other things. But the thing that I see most often, or that I hear most often when I talk to people about why they showed up here, is they talk about being at a point in their lives where they needed to find community, where they wanted to feel like they belonged, where they wanted to feel like they had people to go to when they were going through something in their life. Not like a therapist, but like that they had people to just experience life with, to share what's on their hearts, and to wonder what it means to make the world a better place. This need for belonging is such a basic human need. It is so important to us. Even those of us who don't want to be around people 100% of the time still need people. I cherish my quiet because I don't get so much of it these days, having 2 young children. So I cherish my quiet and my alone time at the end of the day. But as soon as I wake up in the morning, I go running looking for those little ones and my partner, who I know that I have to experience life with. It's so important for us to know that there's a place, a seat for us when we need each other. And you can do that for each other. You have the ability to do that for each other. You are doing that for each other. So I'm asking us today just to reflect with a bit more intentionality, perhaps, than we might normally put into these flowing social times that we have here. To think of yourselves as members of our welcome team, as guides for new people coming in the door, as guides for people who are here already. And to take up that responsibility as a member of this community, as a member of this congregation. And so perhaps we need to maybe also ask us another question. What gets in the way? What gets in the way from those connections happening? What gets in the way from noticing that there's someone walking through the room with a tray that doesn't have a place to sit? What gets in the way? It may be just that you have a thing going on that particular day and you're busy thinking about and preparing for that thing, or it may be that you need some space for yourself. And so this is not a way to shame anyone for not being perfect all of the time, for not being able to practice this all of the time. Community is made up of people, if you haven't noticed, and people are some of the most complex, maybe other than mycelial networks that trees used to stay alive. Those are pretty complex. But people, you, us, we are pretty complex and imperfect things, and we make mistakes. So we want to acknowledge the imperfections of what we do, the imperfections of who we are. Acknowledge that some days we need our quiet. But to also think about what else gets in the way. What else gets in the way? I think that think that sometimes we have this desire to do things perfectly or to not do them at all. And that gets in our way a lot. And that prevents us from being vulnerable with each other. That prevents us from letting vulnerability happen or letting something that is beyond a surface level conversation happen. And so that's, again, one of the reasons that I talked about this. I ask you to think about hospitality from a mindfulness perspective. To take a chance on being at least a little bit vulnerable in your conversations, even if that is just the vulnerability that it takes to start a conversation, even if you don't know what to say. To take a chance on meeting someone, on starting a conversation. To be curious and ask some questions. Another way to think about that might be to be willing to let your freak flag fly just a little bit on any given day. Has anyone ever seen the movie The Family Stone? You know that movie? So one of my favorite moments in that movie is when the character whose name is Ben, who's played by Luke Wilson, says to another character who's played by Sarah Jessica Parker, who is kind of a character that you might characterize as being a little bit closed off, or maybe someone might say uptight, wound up, and not totally comfortable in their own skin, in her own skin. And Luke Wilson's character is flirting with this character a little bit, and definitely sees something in her that isn't immediately obvious, maybe even to herself. And so he says to her, "You have a freak flag. You just don't fly it often enough." So this mindfulness thing about noticing who you are, about embracing who you are so you can be compassionate with yourself, so you can share it with others, is about embracing, like I said, who you are. Learning to let what is in you come out a bit more. Not in a totally off the rails kind of way, but in a, I am here for a reason. I am here to make a connection. I am here to talk about something that is important and meaningful to me. I'm here to embrace my passions. I am here to embrace what might happen when we all embrace our passions together. And that is where I think that there is actually a sacred dimension to what it means to connect with each other, to be hospitable to one another. Adrienne Marie Brown talks about this idea that there is a unique conversation that is possible in a room, and only in any one given time or place. There is a unique conversation or a connection, a spark, that can only happen between the people who are gathered at that particular time. And that conversation will never happen again in exactly the same way. So this is like a seed of creation that you might discover in community. And I like to think about that as a truly divine thing that happens when people gather. That when two people meet, or however many people gather, there is this possible thing that could happen that day, that time, amongst those people. If we tap into it, if we acknowledge it, if we notice it. And it may not be possible to recreate that in exactly the same way. Just like each day of your life is unique and beautiful. So when you come into community, look for those moments. Look for those possibilities. Look for that spark that just might happen. And here's another exciting thing that you might discover today. You are all hereby officially invited to become welcome guides in this congregation. Not just informally, but officially. You are all hereby invited to become members of the welcome committee of this congregation. And the way that you will do this is by going to lunch, to start out with, and making a connection. This is an actual program that the membership committee and I are putting out for you. It will be a series of workshops that will happen that you are invited to attend. I'm asking you to attend about half of them to become a welcome guide, and to attend lunch today first to start out with. And what we will do in those workshops is we will look at the things that can get in the way to being hospitable to people who are here and who show up and who are new. We will look at the ways that our culture, our wider culture, the culture of this congregation, the culture of our world might exclude some people and include others. Because that is one of the major things that gets in our way. Something that I would need a whole other sermon's worth to really draw out for you. But what I want you to know is this. You are invited to participate in this process. I hope you will be excited to do this. Not as homework, not as an extra thing to tick off, but to truly embrace who you are as a member of this congregation and as someone who connects with others, and as someone who lives our values of Unitarian Universalism alive in our world and in our community, by making space out of the love of your open heart for more people to enter in here. And so you will do that by going to lunch today. You will start that by going to lunch. So your challenge today, when you go to lunch, is to find one or perhaps even two people, if you're feeling brave, who you don't know, and to start a conversation with them. To talk about the service, to talk about what is on your heart, and to make a new friend. To embrace with intention what we do together. M. Scott Peck says that in and through community lies the salvation of the world. A bold proclamation for imperfect people such as humans. But I do believe that there is a power in community, in our coming together that we discover. A collective power that we need to ignite in one another, in the connections that we make, in the risks that we take, in the vulnerability that we show. When we choose to serve a vision that is larger than ourselves, when we preemptively think about how to center the needs of the people whose needs are often not centered, when we do the hard work in ourselves to make those changes to ourselves and to our culture that we need to make, when we begin by being compassionate and loving with ourselves and noticing what is true in ourselves so that we can offer it to each other. So when you go out from here today, I ask you to remember what it feels like to be there in that lunchroom on your first day. To remember that feeling, and to know that there is at least one other person, if not several in the room, who might be feeling that way. And I hope you will find them. The love that is possible is knocking and waiting for us to answer its call. will you join in singing our closing hymn, number 1029? Please rise in body or in spirit.
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn, embracing enemies of those to second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
As we go forth, hopefully to lunch, may we carry the lessons of radical hospitality with us, offering kindness and curiosity to those we meet, and finding in each encounter the possibility of friendship and transformation. Though we extinguish this flame, the fire of our connection burns on. May we carry its warmth with us, kindling light wherever we go.